but this is a meeting for which I'm very proud to open, titled, "Is My MEP Just Like Me?" This Parliament doesn't represent the kind of people that are sitting here today, but it clearly is not as diverse either in gender and certainly not in terms of its ethnic minority makeup as it should be. And we're going into these 2014 elections knowing that the European Women's Lobby put together a European Mentoring Network, an initiative, a great initiative, and there are going to be candidates going into those 2014 elections. One of them is coming from my own region in London in the UK, Sánchez, who's sitting here.
First of all, let me begin by saying that mentoring programs really do work. They work because it gives ethnic minority women like me a chance to have a role model, which you really get to see. They work because it gives us access to the corridors of power and to see how places like the European Parliament really works, which we really get to see. And it works because mentees and mentors can learn so much from each other, and the knowledge and insight that I have gained as being a mentee on this programme has really been invaluable. And as a European candidate, if elected in May, what I would like to do is to pull the ladder down so that I could help many other ethnic minority women to be here as MEPs, so that us walking around this Parliament is not the exception but a normality.
If you come here to the European Parliament and you say to people, there are no people of ethnic background, there are no people of minority background, they say to you, what are you talking about? Many people here in the European Union are avoiding the issue. We don't do basic things like ethnic monitoring, we don't have positive action measures in our recruitment procedures, and we don't understand the fundamental issue, which is that there is merit amongst ethnic minority people, but they are being prevented by barriers from showing their merit, and in this case in politics.
Remember, and today we have this agreement because there is
Well, Sánchez is on our London list, but unfortunately she's not high enough on the list. I would like her to be higher. What we have got to do is make sure that Sánchez and other black and ethnic minority people of high merit like her are elected.
Sánchez is not really like someone that is at the beginning. She is very involved in politics already. She knows a lot about the EU and about the European Parliament. So she would be really a perfect member of the European Parliament if you ask me. But I don't have this influence in UK. So maybe next time, in the next 5 years. And I'm really proud actually of her. I wanted to explain her Twitter, but then in the end she was explaining me, and all the social medias that you can use as a younger politician. This is something that Sánchez knows everything about, so I couldn't really teach her, even though I'm using much more than my other colleagues here in the Parliament. So the bell means that you have to go to the plenary session and vote. This is one of the most important things in Strasbourg. And we were going to vote a very important file. Edith Estrella wrote a report about the sexual and reproductive rights of women, and it came out that, let's say, the conservatives and the extreme right united their forces in order to put everything under the question, or you're in favor or against abortion. I really thought that we live in the 21st century, but this kind of debates are really telling me that we need more younger people in politics in order to open the eyes maybe to some older politicians.
So with Enrique, we text each other, we email each other. She's full of very good advices for my professional and political career. And so when I have some questions, I can ask her, and she will answer like in a day. And it's very kind of her, because we need some time when we have some hard, tricky questions. It's very important to have an exterior point of view.
But if you're coming late, you won't know.
She's quite knowledgeable at several issues, and she is gathering now experience within like the French Greens and also here in the Parliament with the parliamentarian also she works with, and with being mentee with me. And I can see, and from some of the discussions we've had, it was also interesting to hear your questions. Yeah, sometimes so your concerns or when you weren't clear what to decide. Yeah, and I reminded myself of times when I was like your age and so, and I felt like, oh, it would have been great to have somebody who I could ask these questions at that time. Yeah, so. Yes, okay, please, Commissioner. She's good too, Commissioner Georgieva. Talking about women in politics. Yes, thank you.
Keep going.
Yes, we will.
My personal story. When I transformed from the women who say, oh no, it has to be on merits and all these targets, they actually undermine women, because then we get jobs not because we are good, but because we are in a target group, to fighting for women. This transition happened after a visit to Vietnam. I was the head of a World Bank team, the most senior person in the team. We met with the Prime Minister, with members of the cabinet, with the Parliament, and they were all men. And there was a Vietnamese interpreter with us. And in the end of the trip, she came to me and said, Mrs. Georgieva, could you please pass a message to President Wolfenson? I said, sure, what is the message? Could you please thank him on behalf of the Vietnamese women for putting a woman in charge as a good example to our men, to our society. And then I went back and I said, it's actually not about me. It is about a better world for all of us. Gender equality is about making our world a better place for all of us, for men and women. Women are their worst enemy. Women often question whether they can be good for a job. I question that every time. Every time I'm offered a job in a senior position, I would say, oh, but am I really the best person? There are so many other people who would be better than me. And that building self-confidence is as critical as the other elements of promoting women. Why we need it? Because no institution, no country, no community can succeed without tapping in the full potential of all its people, men and women.
1, 2, 3, cheese. 50-50.
Now, we have a saying in Washington, D.C., it's one of my favorite sayings, that if you don't have a seat at the table, chances are you're on the menu. Think about that. If you're not sitting at the table where the decisions are being made, people are making decisions about you that affect you, and often in a not good way. Research shows that when women run for office, they win at the same rate as men. The problem is that women aren't running in the same rate as men. Far more men run for office than women do. So we need more women to take that next step and step up and run. Typically when a man is told, hey, this position is open, why don't you run for it? A man takes about 2 seconds and says, yes, I can do that, even if he's less qualified than another woman. And you ask a woman, hey, you ought to run for that position, and they think, oh, I don't know. Can I do it? Do I have the time? Maybe they say I have a family and, I don't know, I have to think about it.
Gülis Domruk, who works also as a coordinator for a reception location for asylum seekers, inactive members of GirlLink in the Netherlands, and is a mentee in the European Political Mentoring Program. She has been selected as one of GirlLink candidates for the European election 2014.
In 2004, not even after 40 years of migration, never ever ethnic minority woman was chosen in the local city council. I was the first. And everybody said to me, like they said to me this time, how do you manage the kids? The kindergarten takes over the kids, my husband takes over the kids, but I manage it because I have a dream.
We hebben zelf een weekend gepland, begin april, waar een aantal debattrainingen, campagnestrategieën worden besproken. En als ik in Brussel ben, dan krijg ik een soort mini-snuffelstage en dat vind ik heel erg interessant.
Het rare is met Nederlandse Europarlementariërs, er zijn er niet zoveel die eerst de Tweede Kamer gedaan hebben. Het is een beetje jammer, maar Nederlanders vinden blijkbaar nog steeds Tweede Kamerlid chiquer dan Europarlementariërs zijn. Geeft voor mensen zoals wij, die vanuit lokaal niveau wat anders willen gaan doen, biedt het mogelijkheden.
We have a top 12 of the list, and I'm standing at number 11. And we have now 3 members in the parliament for the Greens of Holland, of the Netherlands. So I should be realistic about it, but I have a little bit hope. So I don't give up my hope. I just want to fight for it.
I don't know what is expected of people. I mean, because obviously 11 is not an electable place. Mm-hmm. So what is the expectation? Do they expect you to make a huge campaign?
No. But they asked all of us, the whole 12 members of the list, to get in campaign, to get active in campaign. So I thought, we have 12 members, which are the events most close to me, where I can speak and talk about our vision, or green vision about
But I think it's just important that, this campaign thing can be a very good tool for yourself as well, as long as you have clear what you want to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm currently running in our internal green primary process where we're looking for who's going to be the green top candidate for the European elections for all over Europe, where I'm running. So that's a very exciting process. We're voting every day here in Strasbourg, between 2 hours. It's a huge amount of legislation that we're going to vote through. And this week we have had, for instance, already yesterday we voted on a file on gender equality, which did not go well, unfortunately, at all.
And you look at Europe, and what would you see? Accordion. There are countries like the Nordics where gender equality is but of course. And there are countries, and I'm not going to name them, but we all know the statistics where this is still a battle. And my professor of statistics used to say that the problem with average, our European average, is not bad, but the problem with our average is that it doesn't really present the picture quite well. He would say you can put your head in the refrigerator and your feet in the oven, and your temperature would be average, but you will be dead. What we don't want is in Europe to lose sight of this accordion. We have to strive to bring Europe up. And I'm repeating myself, because it is good for everybody, for men and for women.
My mentee is a young woman from Uzbekistan who works in Denmark. She has been there for a long time, and I think it has been very interesting to knowing her, to see actually how strong she is.
Ja, det har jeg. Ja.
Hej, tak for sidst.
I myself come from a migrant family. My grandmother came from Poland to work in Denmark, and I think we should use these resources of these people, these competences, to develop Europe, to strengthen Europe.
And this has just happened last week, where under a legacy of European Women Lobby and my mentor, Britta Thompson, she has came to participate in my debate, which I arranged for everybody in European House in Copenhagen. I had 60 participants. They all came. We had a spectrum of parties represented, from liberals to movement against the EU. And it was a proof that with small changes and initiatives, and of course the empowerment you get from here, it's a proof that people like me with no logos, we can do this. We need to provoke, we need to poke, we need to inspire, and we need to irritate all the girls around us. Because by irritation, you create some action in every girl.
I'm about making change, but I'm not sure if it's through business or through politics, but I think some way or the other I will be deeply involved, because I can simply not resist it.
The most important thing is to be dedicated, that you really want that, and spend the time it takes, because to be in politics takes a lot of time. Therefore, I myself was first serious in politics after I became 45, because I had my daughter to take care of, I had jobs, I had other things, but then finally husbands. I could say, well, now it is what I want, go into politics, be active and work on that, and this was very important.
For me, gender equality has never been a typical women issue. It has never ever been there. It has been about democracy and human rights. And everybody should have human rights, and even women. So why shouldn't I as a man fight for that? That would be very strange for me, because I fight for human rights in all other areas. Why shouldn't I fight for women's rights in that sense? If we're living on this world and we are 50-50, it should be equal parity between men and women in that sense. But there aren't. So this is very much for me a human rights issue, to work with gender issue and also women's rights. There's so much light and focus on how women behave and doing, and also has nothing to do with politics, how they dress, how do you take care of your children when you're here and there, all these questions. Men doesn't get this question, and how do you take care of your children, and why do you wear a suit in grey, why do you need to choose black or whatever. So many of these things that has nothing to do with politics. I think that's the biggest challenge for a woman who take part of politics and become a member of European Parliament, for example.
I decided not to run because I'm planning to relocate to Finland due to work and personal reasons. See, being European now, I think it's great to see that I can move to Finland, hopefully this spring, and I was thinking I need to also continue this legacy. So I contacted the supporter of European Women Lobby, Sirpa Pertikainen. I talked to her, and now I'm also following her, not as Britta, but she's actively assisting me in the questions I have about Finnish politics, Finnish networks within the subjects, and I definitely want to keep navigating from Denmark to Finland.
And good mentoring actually passes the information to the next generation of women, hopefully in politics and in economy. So it tells the experience, it tells the contacts, it just shares. It's sharing like you share in the well, what women used to do in middle of the villages.
And you also, I think, need somebody that at the end of the day you go home to, or you can ring up and just totally dump on them. All of, what a terrible day you've had, what so-and-so said, and it was appalling, and, so you can just, it's very difficult for them to sit and listen to all of this. My husband has been doing it for years, and I think if he's got the technique right, goes in one ear and out the other, and he just smiles at the right points. You meet nice people, even if they don't want to vote for you. Most of them are nice. And if they're really horrible, well, you don't have to be nice, do you? You can tell people that if they, too many immigrants, well, you won't be voting for my party then. You can actually, you can say that, and there is a certain degree of sort of freedom with it. And you get to meet all sorts of amazing people and go to all sorts of places that you wouldn't be going in your normal sort of everyday life, really. I love that. That's really interesting.
I still think positive action measures can work in relation to ethnic minority advancement. I think mentoring, for example, can work, but only hand in hand with other strong measures. Why is this so urgent? Because we're about to go into 2014 European elections, where far from seeing more ethnic minority MEPs, whether women or men, we're about to see more right-wing, far-right MEPs elected from right across Europe. This is the prediction. So rather than going forwards, I think we're about to go backwards. And that's why this has become such an urgent and present issue.